Hey guys, so in this video we're going to install a VirtualBox and then we're going to create a virtual machine which we're going to use for our development environment. So the first thing that we have to do is that we have to download the Linux image, and that's going to be Linux Mint in our case. Like you know that Linux have so many flavors, so many distros like they call it, and you can choose Ubuntu, you can choose like Fedora, you can choose so many different options, but in our case we can use Linux Mint. Why? Well, Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu, so it's going to work very similar. And very important part that you should know is that most of the servers nowadays they Linux servers, and some of these Linux servers, probably the most of the servers that you're going to work, they use Ubuntu like operative system in the background. So probably is quite good experience if we know how to work with the Linux machine. And why we choose Linux Mint? Because Linux Mint is quite simple and it's very similar for those of you that you coming from Windows, so it's going to be more easy to for you to working with the operative system. So what you have to do is just go in the Linux Mint main page, and here you can see the download. So press the download. So the current version now is Linux Mint 19. So what you have to do is that you can choose one of the options here. For our case, we're going to use Cinnamon. You can choose Mate and you can choose XFCA. The difference between this version is the desktop environment and how does it look like and how many resources is taking from your machine. Cinnamon is the more bigger. I think that we should be fine if we use like a VirtualBox that using like 3 gigabytes of RAM. Mate, it's a little bit more lighter, and XFCA, it's quite more light than the other two. So what we do is that we choose a Cinnamon. So you just press the Cinnamon, and then here you can choose the option how you want to download the ICO. The options that we have is that you can choose from here from countries, or like the options that I always choose is the download from torrent. I'm not going to do this because I have already in my machine, I have already my download folder. Okay, so just press here, start to download it, and let's go to the other step. And the other step is going to be to install the VirtualBox. I have it installed as well already in my machine, and it's not something that we have to spend so much time how to install it. Why? Because it's actually very simple process. All you need to do is just go in the VirtualBox download and then choose your operative system and press from here, and from here it's going to be downloaded, and then like most of the times it's going to be next, and you're done. Okay, so it's not going to be something that we need to spend time here. So let's go to say that you have already downloaded the image. Okay, we have installed VirtualBox. Let's go to create our virtual machine. Well, it's going to be very easy with a few steps that we need to take it. Just open your VirtualBox. Okay, and once when it's done, you see that here I have some virtual machines that I'm using for testing purpose and stuff like this. That's a Windows machine that you can install as well. And as you can see, my host machine, it's Linux. So sometimes I need Windows just to for testing purposes. So what we do here is that you just press in the button new, and here we going to name our VirtualBox. We're going to name our virtual machine. If you start to type, for example, let's go say like Linux, and here's automatically detect that you want to install Linux on your virtual machine. What we can do is that we can call it like Laravel. Okay, it's going to be Linux, and then we can press next. And here you can choose how many memory you want to dedicate for this machine. What's that mean? Well, like you see, my machine is having 8 gigs of RAM. Okay, I never can give so much RAM that my host machine is getting short of RAM. Okay, so that's very important. Never give a lot of RAM here, because your host machine is going to have necessity for more RAM, and that's not good, because it's most of the process they going in the background in your host machine. So for the Linux Mint, we can choose like, let's go say like 3 gigabytes of RAM. And in your case, let's go to say that you have 4 gigs of RAM in your machine. So you can choose 2 and it's going to work just fine. Okay. So what we do is that we press next, and here it's going to create a hard disk that we need to install the virtual machine. But just don't worry for this option and just press create. Okay. Once when you press create, then give it next and next, and here we can choose how many space we want to dedicate for this machine. What's that mean is that if we say like in our case 100, that's mean once when we in our VirtualBox, we can operate with the 100 gigs of space. Okay, so I think the 100 is plenty of space for the stuff that we're going to use the machine. And then you just press create. Okay, once when you press create, so now you have create the virtual machine. Okay, we not have installed yet the operative system. That's going to be the next step. But before that you get the next step, it's a good idea if we do some steps before this. So make sure that you select the machine and then you press settings. Once when you go in the settings, then you press the system settings, and then we go in the processors, and now we choose 2 processor, and that's the same like the RAM that we used before. What that mean is that I give it a 2 because my CPU have only 4. Okay, but if you leave it in 1, it's going to work quite slowly and it's not going to be very good experience. Okay, so with 2 should be plenty and should be enough, but make sure that you give it more, because if you leave it in 1, like I said, it's going to be not very good experience. Okay, let's go in display. If you use Linux, or no, actually not if you use Linux, because I show you now how is it in Linux, but if you use Windows or Mac, probably here it's a little bit different. But what's the idea here is that we give the maximum of possibility that is give the VirtualBox of us the maximum megabytes of video memory. Okay, and that's going to make our experience more pleasant, like graphics and open windows and everything. And make sure that you check the box here, say enable 3D select. Okay, next step that we have to do is you go in storage, and in storage it's like, let's say that your hard disk that you have and it's still empty, so you have to put some image, some operating system to start working with it. So what we do is that it's empty, you just press empty, and then the small disk in the right, you press the small disk and then choose a virtual option disk file. And then in my case, like I say, I have already downloaded, and is in my download folder. Okay, so let's go say that we're going to use the latest version, that is 19, and we say open, and here we done. Okay, something that I always do as well is the user interface. I just remove this stuff because I don't need it when I operate inside in the VirtualBox. Okay, and with this we are done, and we say okay. Right, so the next step is that when we say start, it's going to install it's going to start to install our machine. First, what it's going to do is that, as you can see now, we're going to boot like from live CD or live USB. Okay, so that's mean that we're going to boot in the operative system, but it's not going to be installed yet in the dedicated hard disk that we have for the virtual machine. Okay, so give me a second and I can show you exactly what I mean by that. Okay, there we go. Now we're loading the Linux Mint, and we are inside. Okay, so as you can see here, that's the desktop of Linux Mint. That's 19, the last version we have. That's the install Linux Mint. Okay, that's the important part here, that we're going to install it from here. Here, if you want, you can navigate and you can have a look the menu and have a look some different programs and everything. If you just want to have a look how the program is, how the operative system is working. Okay, but we don't need to do this. What we need to do is that we have to press install. Okay, double click and install, and the process is starting. Okay, so Here I leave it in English and I just say continue. The next one I go to put in Spanish. And why? Because my laptop is using Spanish keyboard, so it's going to be for me more easy if I want to that is working correctly. Okay, so I choose Spanish, and then here you can test it to see that everything is worked correctly, and in my case, yes, it's working. And then you say continue. Okay, and this step we don't need it. This option is ask you if you want to install some additional drivers that we don't need it for in our case. Okay, so just press continue. Here is going to ask you do you want to erase the disk and install the Linux Mint? Don't worry for this option because we speak for our VirtualBox disk. Okay, we don't speak for our host machine disk, so don't worry because it's going to be only install our Linux Mint and nothing more in this hard disk. Okay, so install. There's a virtual hard disk, it's not actually a hard disk. Okay, and then continue. Okay, in the next step you can choose where you're located. I use a VPN, so I'm located in Sofia, I guess. Then you press continue, and then you put your name. For example, I'm going to put Alex, and our machine is we're going to call it Laravel. Okay, the user we're going to call it as well Laravel. Perfect. Okay, now actually the user, let's going to make it more short. It's going to be Alex, and here you can choose the password and repeat the password and then continue. As you can see that my password is not one of the most strongest, but for the purpose of the video and for the purpose of the course, that should be fine because we working, don't forget that we're working on different machine and we're not working on a host machine. And that's the beauty as well of using a virtual machine, because you don't messed up with your host machine. That's quite important. Your host machine is going to be with the same installation and with the same setups. We don't need to change nothing there. What we're going to do is that we're going to change and we're going to set up everything in our virtual machine. And once when something is mess up or something is broke, you just can delete the virtual machine and then you can build a new one. Okay, or you can do as well a copy of this virtual machine once when you have fresh install, once when everything is set up, and then from this copy you can restart in the future if something is broke. So you see that's quite convenient actually. What it's doing now is copy the files that we needed, and in few seconds going to start the installation. So let me pause the video for a few minutes, and once when it's done, we're coming back and we start from there. Okay. Alright, so as you can see that we installed it already, we're done with the installation, and the next step what we have to do is just say restart now. Okay, now the operative system is going to be restored, and then we're going to boot again. Just press enter here, and we're going to boot again in the operative system. And what we have to start doing is updating the operative system. Okay, that's very important step, and we should always do it once when you install a new operative system. I think that it doesn't matter that that's a Windows or Linux. Always is a good idea once when you install the operative system, then make sure that you update the software inside. Okay, so probably it's going to take a little bit more time for the first boot. Let's give us time. Okay, and here you put your password that you put in the previous, and you say enter, or you press enter. We wait a little bit more. Don't forget that we use 3 gigabytes of RAM, okay, and 2 processors, so it's not going to be the more fast machine in the world. Okay. Okay, so that's the welcome window of the Linux Mint, something that we don't need to see anymore. So you check the box here and then you close it. Okay, and as you can see here down there, it's tell you that you have a new updates. Okay, so you have two options. One option is that you can open the terminal and you can update the system from there. Okay, or you can do it from the graphic interface. Let's go to start from the graphic interface, because I'm not sure that everyone is feeling comfortable with the terminal for this moment. So let's go to start with the easy part, okay? So you just press here, as you can see. Let's go to make it bigger, and let's say okay. Now it's going to look for some updates. There we go. So what we have to do is that we have to update all these packages that we need for the good function of our operative system. So what you say, just say install. Then you say, okay, yeah, I'm okay with all these packages. And then you put your password and you say enter. You press enter. And we start waiting. Okay, so what we do now is again, we're going to take a cup of coffee, because that's going to take a little while. It's going to take like around 15 minutes. Okay, so when it's done, I see you there. Okay, so we are done with updating our operative system. So what we need to do now is that you can close. If you can see here is that something that is left, okay? Something that is like staying here, and we're not updating because that's the Linux kernel, and we don't need to mess up with this for this moment. So just leave it like this and close the window, okay? So what we have here is that we have fully operative and fully functional operative system, something that we can use it for our development environment, okay? One small trick that it can make the VirtualBox like in full screen is that if you press Ctrl and F, and as you can see, it's getting full size, okay? So the last step that we have to do before that we restore the Linux is that we have to configure it, and we have to enable the firewall, okay? And how you can enable the firewall, it's going to be very easy. Open the terminal, okay? And to open the terminal, you just have to press Ctrl Alt and T, okay? And there you go in your terminal. So guys, if you never used before the terminal, don't worry for nothing for the moment. Just leave it as it is, okay? And we just have to type this command, and for the moment leave it like this, okay? So what you have to type is sudo, okay, and then ufw enable, okay? So what that's going to do is that it's going to enable in the boot of the operative system, it's going to enable the firewall that we have by default in Linux Mint. Just press enter, put your password, and enter again. And as you can see, the firewall is active in and enable on system start. Okay, perfect. So far so good. What we can do now is that we can restore our operative system, and we can have a look how does it work after that. So just say restart. Okay, we wait that it's boot. We have to make sure that it's boot without problem and that everything is correct and the update was done. So far good, okay? And that's going to be the last thing that we have to do for this video. So that's mean that we install the operative system, we have everything set up, okay? And in the next video we start to prepare our development environment. That's mean that in the next video we start to install a PHP, and we're going to install Valet. We're going to use Valet to serve our Laravel projects and our Laravel sites, okay? What's Valet? It's going to install as well Nginx, and it's going to prepare everything, is going to set up everything for us, so we don't need to worry for nothing. But let's go to leave this for the next video, and I explain you more in depth, okay? Let's go to put the password, enter, and let's go to see that everything is worked correctly. There we go, we inside in our operative system. Guys, you see that it's quite easy actually to have Linux machine in your any machine, okay? If you use like Windows and you always think, well, what was it to work in Linux? So there we go, you can check, you can see how is it, you can mess around it, you can hack it, you can do everything, and you can learn like this, okay? If you use Mac, you can do absolutely the same, okay? So something that we can do as well is that why we not change this background, okay? change the desktop background, and we're going to choose something more nice. There we go. Well, let's say ocean looks fine for me. Okay, there we go, and we close here and we're done. Okay guys, thank you so much that you've been there with me in this video. This video it was take a little bit more time than the first video, but as you can see that we make a lot of stuff. And in the next video what we start to do is that we start to set up our development environment. Thanks a lot guys, and see you in the next video.